We are a bit behind time, but I would just like to share a few comments on both the presentations. And I think Madam Roy Kulai's presentation also highlights the linkages between the rural and urban. And if you're to talk about a sustainable city, a green city in the Green Hills, then there are numbers of linkages with what's happening in the hills around us. The question of water supply as well. There is rampant entrepreneurship around supplying waters in this town. And the competition is in we can provide clean drinking water to your houses, but the source of that water supply, is it being regenerated? Is there afforestation happening in the source? All that nobody talks about. And the declining water table here in this town, the solution that we are exploring as a community is quite disappointing, in that we are saying, hey, we have better technologies to dig deeper, right? I am bringing in, we are saying now we are bringing in better machines so that we can dig deeper and deeper and deeper. We are not saying, can we explore alternatives? That is unfortunately not happening. So a lot of food for thought, and I'm sure a lot of you will have questions. Now we'll open up the session for a quick Q&A session, question and answer session. And the questions can be for both the resource persons, Pu Lamse Baite and P. Roy Kulai. So if anybody here has any question that you want to ask, a follow-up, a doubt, or some example that which you'd like to share with this in the meeting here, the floor is open now. So we'll have about 10 minutes of Q&A. So if any one of you have any questions. Any questions from the students here, from Rayburn, from the senior citizens, or from the members of VL? Okay, yeah, so we have a question here. Yeah, kindly introduce yourself and pose the question.
Thank you for the time. I'm Mr. Upa J. Rungdim, IDS retired. I have a question since there's distinguished panelists here. You were talking about the source of water, okay? The source of our water supply has been deforested. It's basically because of plantation of. Should I speak out? I don't know. You all know. So I would like to ask the department, forest department, about this. What kind of steps you can take to convince the government, especially government of Manipur right now, that yes, they are planting those unwanted plants, but at least our water sources should not be deforested. Because the kind of drinking water that we have at our homes, you all know the quality. Because I'm not a scientist, I don't know. What steps can you take on this? I've been preaching in the churches that those income that one earns from those plants should not be brought to the church. I've been opposing this for the last nearly 20 years. Of course, we cannot ask people when they bring their tithes to the church, what is the source of these tithes? But it's only the people who brought the tithes. They should be discouraged not to bring these to the church. That's why I have been advocating that those people who plant kanis should not bring their tithes to the church. So my question is, I mean, if you can convince the government of Manipur to stop altogether, that's very good. But at least the source of our drinking water. I've just, by contributing from our own villages, we just had the water connections from August. But the source, I know what kind of plants are there. I know the quality of my drinking water is not very good. So what steps the department is taking? That's my question, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pujya Sungdim. That was a very, very pertinent and wonderful questions. You know that this is a matter of bond of contention between the government departments in the past. When, fortunately, I was posted in the secretariat, where the additional chief secretary, I'll just name it, Mr. Shambhu Singh was also the additional chief secretary of water supply, PHCD. So once we had a meeting with the additional chief secretary and the chief engineers of PHCD, my proposal was that water supply department is supposed to provide safe drinking water to every villages or every communities. But the source of water is coming from the hills. So when the deforestation took place, water supply people never say that this is their problem. But the blame comes to the forest department only, because the area has been deforested. So since we have no other means, my suggestion to the government was that let us make a collective effort. We need to do a collective effort so that the catchment is protected. The catchment is protected in order to have a regular flow of streams and rivers. But unfortunately, the PHCD department, I'm not blaming any department, but I'm telling about my experience only. No? But the chief engineer said that if the water supply, the source of water is depleting, then he doesn't mind extending the pipeline by another 4 or 5 kilometers, going down deep into the jungle, instead of diverting a little amount for afforestation purpose. That was the intention that the PHCD department had when we had a discussion. And then another thing is that you know that some administrative issue also used to come up. Like there is no coordination between the administrative department. For example, let me say one thing that it was very recent, maybe around 5-6 years back. There was a water supply scheme for Susanpur in this, Taisheng site, no? Taisheng. Kolmun top site, no? Then there was a proposal from the forest department that this area should be planted, protected and afforested. So we provide a provision for gap filling, artificial regeneration, added natural regeneration. That is that we don't have to fell trees. Whatever the existing tree, we should retain it, and then wherever the gap is there, we should go for plantation. But the deputy commissioner, I will not name, but the deputy commissioner on her own directed the village chief and the local people to completely clear the area. And then they cleared the area, and then once the area is clear, the villagers are not interested to go for tree planting. They wanted to go for more profitable poppy or some other species. This is how it happened because of the lack of coordination or administrative failure, I must say that. This is something, the blame comes to the forest department and then to the water supply, but the culprit is somewhere else. This is something, what is happening. But I'm not saying that we should completely escape from it. But I would like to say that wherever the water source, the village chief or the leaders, whoever is in the catchment area, please take it as an important that you are the source of water for the livelihood of the town and the people, and then that needs to be protected. So we should take it as a voluntary or contribution to the society that your water coming from your area needs to be protected so that it sustains the other community, other people in the town or in the other villages. This because this is the experience only particularly I'm experiencing in Susanpur. But when I was in NERCOM managing director in NERCOM, my experience, I have come across a very good experience in Dima Hasao, Assam, and then Meghalaya in Tura and other area. The water source, whatever we provide, we ask them to protect at least 10 hectares of forest area, which is the source of water. Then they protect it. Then whoever is protected, we give them incentives. If they don't protect it, we don't give them incentive. But if they protect it, we provide them incentive, and then voluntarily we provide them incentive, and then the water supply is being utilized judiciously and then sustainable manner, in a sustainable manner. This is something like we need to educate ourselves, and we need to take this as a challenge for the welfare of our other people. Thank you so much.
I am Frankie P. Gangte, one of the member of this VL. Now, as Mr. Baite was giving the fact that the rise of sea level was disturbing me like anything. We should be prepared to be a host of millions of people. We are in a higher level. One thing I want to say, one is that glacier lake bursting, that is about to take place now, and it is taking place also. Himalaya, all the ice will be coming down. Bangladesh will be at least 10 meter to 15 meter high. There will be no place to live. Then migration will come to our side. So let us prepare ourselves for receiving all those homeless people. Okay. Yeah. Secondly, while in service, I was asked, Mr. Gangta, you must be knowing area where this electric supply is not available in Manipur. Please identify, and we are going to fund them so that all the villages would be electrified. That is wonderful, I said. Then I started asking the department and collecting the data. All the villages were already electrified. I don't know how. In November, this Payang village was, in November this year, Payang village was having electricity power. They are very happy. But 25 years ago, that village was already electrified. Now, secondly, water supply we are talking about. We have waters, and according to my information, all the town area is supplied sufficiently with water. Every house has pipe, and bill has been drawn already, but no house is having water supply. This is, I don't blame anybody. I blame the people of Suresanpur. We were keeping silent. All the streets are electrified. Where is the light? Bill has been drawn already. Posts have been erected already. We keep on blaming like that, but we are not taking action. Now, Pulungdim also said about the water supply. We are already supplied with sufficient water. Pipeline has been fixed to each and every house. The bill has been drawn and no water. That's where we are. And we feel that we are educated people. We are one of the highest educated in the state. It is a shameful thing. Let us have some voice. Don't blame people. Anybody can snatch away your property. And if he snatches away, if you keep silent, all your house will be empty. Now we have been deprived of such thing. Water supply has been given to all the houses. From Kangwai to this place, street light is there in the paper. And then from here to Konpi, street light is there in the paper. And every village in Manipur is electrified according to paper. But we blame our politicians and all leaders. They are not to be blamed, we are to be blamed. So I would ask this request, Mr. Paite, in case, not to say in case, it is already happening. The sea level is rising and we're in a higher altitude. So what preparation we must be making in the event of sudden rise of sea level? Many cities will be underwater. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments, Pulungdim and Pufranki. We have a very interesting session after this, before which we will break for tea. Tea will be served here. Please do not leave your seats. I request the volunteers at the back to kindly start serving tea and snacks. But just to add on to the very interesting comments by our senior citizens, I think one thing that we miss in today's talk is also the role of the community. We talk about a lot of the lack of water supply or the lack of regular water supply, but are we conserving enough? Are we preparing, are we utilizing it well in our homes? Are we leaving our taps, unclosed? All of that also remains a question. So as the volunteers serve tea, I would request Dr. Siamkhan Thang to come and demonstrate a very unique feature of today's event, which is the barcode. If you look at your badges, there's a barcode there, and if you scan it, all the relevant documents can be accessed from here on your mobile phone instantly. This is, I think, one of the first of its kind, of which many of the meetings that I'm a part of in this town. I think also one of the key features of trying to be, a sustainable city, but also there are many other areas that we need to work on. Now, to close this session, we would like to invite both our resource persons, before they start their tea, Pu Lamsei Baite and P Rowi Kulai, to come up on stage and accept a small token of appreciation from Vision Lamka. I also invite Pu Puen Naisial, Chairman of Vision Lamka, to do the honors. Yes. Pu Lamse Baite and P. Rowi Kulai, we invite you on stage.
Okay. This is a small token as a token of appreciation. Thank you very much. Robi attributes all my ideas to my wife. I have to clarify. My wife is not here. If she's here, she'll be very happy. But I also have to clarify that everything is not because of my wife.
Okay, point taken, sir. Point
She
taken.
is right now in Paris, of course. But I have seen other cities also in my own capacity.
Okay. I understand.
Anyway, this
Thank
is
you.
my appreciation, our appreciation to Lamka. Thank you for the wonderful speech, thought-provoking. Not only the specific topic, but other areas of your topic that you have covered. It will give a lot of thought to all of us here, and then make us think, and then think for ourselves.
Let's
All the
think more.
best.
Let's have more discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thangboy, for that very informative and also very engaging presentation. We have touched upon a lot of interrelated, connected topics, and I think there's a lot of food for thought, and I'm sure a lot of you will have questions. But before we get to the Q&A session, just a few remarks from my side would be that the forests that we're talking about are, some of you might think, how is it related to the theme today? Because we are talking about building a green city on the green hills, and we have delved a lot of our time on forest, right? But the point here being that we're also focusing on the premise of building a green city, which is on the green hills. And that is where the importance of forest conservation, looking after our forests and water sources becomes important. There are quite some interesting examples from other parts of Northeast. One is in Peren district in Nagaland, they have the Amur falcons visiting every year. And the same villagers who used to hunt Amur falcons are now protecting Amur falcons. And doing that is not as simple as saying, okay, you come and be the guardians of the forest, but there's an incentive to that. Because now there are tourists coming to see Amur falcons. So the villagers are getting, instead of shooting down Amur falcon and selling in the black market, in protecting Amur falcons, now they can fetch more money with their homestays and with their with other ecotourism related activities there. So there are initiatives. If we look around, we don't have to look very far. In Nagaland, in Meghalaya, in Arunachal Pradesh, there are initiatives, and I'm sure the Vision Lamka team will be interested in looking up some of these examples and see if we can maybe with in collaboration with the forest department, maybe do a pilot in some parts of the district, and that would be something that would be one of the possible takeoff or takeaways from this very important seminar. With that small comment, I now open the floor for open discussion. This is open for all, and it can be question, it can be remark, it can be adding on to what some of the speakers have said. As you all know, the last session that we just had was focusing on the micro level, at the local level. And I'm sure a lot of participants here will have something to add on or to ask questions. So everyone is invited to come and share their thoughts. The floor is open.
Yeah, friends, I'm Colonel Sitlu. I'm a retired Army officer settled in Lamka. I'm also a humble member of the Vision Lamka. Okay. I have a question for the Forest Department. We have something called the Forest Dwellers Act 2006. So when we talk about problems in the forest, we being tribals, we all naturally claim to have a right or to dwell, to cut trees or to do whatever we like in the forest. So I'd like to know what is the implementation of this act in Manipur, especially in the tribal areas, and what is the status of that act? Thank you.
Since I'm the last forest officer available, I'll have to give some insight. I have joined this department only in February this year, so I may not know very up to date, but generally what I have perceived till now in this few months is that FRA, the nodal department is Tribal Welfare Department in Manipur, and they have formed the committees in the districts who will check the claims for FRA. What is happening in big states like Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, where you have the 5th schedule, not the 6th schedule, there the tribals are really deprived of their rights from the forest. They are very deprived, and they don't, and they are fully controlled by the forest department. Whatever non-timber forest produce, they are collecting also. They have to pay the taxes. So there is a real need for Forest Rights Act in those areas, and they are way much more backward than us tribals. We are tribals, but we have so much of rights. Our whatever we may say, the chief is undemocratic, whatever. But because of this chiefship, our land is protected, and we have a political, politically we are very strong because of that, even in the state. So in these states, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, etc., this Forest Rights Act is being implemented very well. The eligible forest dwellers, as per the act, since I think who have been dwelling before 30 December 2005 or 3, there is one deadline given. So they put in their application, and they are entitled to about 5 hectares land from the area. I'm very unclear about that now. I just forgot. So these are being resolved. The state forest departments are very lethargic in giving them their rights, but it is being done because the Ministry of Tribal Affairs is very strong just now. The minister himself, being a tribal, he's pushing it very strongly for Jharkhand. Now in Manipur, as far as I know, I think within our tribal context, we are not interested, because even we are not interested, and there are no applicants as of now. As far as I can see that in the forest department, there is no application pending, and if at all there is, maybe it is not valid or something. If you are going to get only that small amount of land by applying it to the government, when you have full rights over hundreds of hectares, it is of no value to us in our traditional land ownership system. However, for Forest Conservation Act purposes, suppose a forest land is to be used for non-forest purposes. A road runs through a reserve forest, or you want to put up a government hospital in a reserve forest, primary health center, you need some, 1 hectare or 2 hectare land to be diverted to the new installation for the public good. Then under Forest Clearance Act 1980, this can be done with approval of the ministry, that central government in Delhi. And one of the important papers is this, that there are no pending applications for grant of Forest Rights Act, which the DCs, Imphal East, West, and all these are doing right now. We receive applications, we insist on this certificate, and they are given also. And but I am yet to see that any DC says that it is objected on the ground that FRA clearance is not yet given or the public is objecting, something like that. So right now, I don't think in our hill districts, FRA certificates are being given to any private applicant by passing whoever is a village authority or district administration. It cannot happen without the knowledge of the district DC, Deputy Commissioner. So that much I know right now.
It's not really a question. I just feel that I should put rather in the context. Mi tampin city chung chang ki gana bang tirana forest lam thung pot mei tham ti khalangai to mei theiwa ji chu one of our resource persons also they mentioned or she mentioned that if the entire forest Pearson, Olchrachanpur, Gelmore, Tuinom, Hangzhou, Teizang, then opposite side, this side also. If they totally get clear out, the city of Lamka won't be able to exist even 10 years. That is the importance. Jajika ha if forest hi a town sungaleng and thingi pungaya a king a kim verule protect loile Lamka chengte hi cheng lo the hill. In terms of climate, in terms of water supply, in terms of humidity, in terms of oxygen, nothing will be available in the town. Jajika ha forest ha hungpoi moiti ha heitenon. To again golachun forest hi apoi mo a thing tanga cheng te kha house te thune nai jekin je khan house te khan dai hoi takane jekun house te kha apoi mo wa jekchun the role of the village chiefs are so important to protect, to promote and preserve our life by way of promoting, preserving the forest in and around Lamka. Je kha aiti kha kawakken noma jekchun my colleague Mr. Lungdim is also here. We have invited quite a few village chiefs around. I don't know how many of them have come here. I would request them to come and speak up also. What they propose to do about kay ngai dana chu village chief te khan khwa thing sat tak lo dinga ti wai le sat lo hung hi me dinga hi king kim vela cheng te hi e thing phu dinga ti wai le thing kha phu me din te nun lui hoi le ngan nin ho garbage ho ipai lo ding ti wen lai la house te khan According to my perception, I may be wrong. There can be a debate on that. The village chiefs in and around Lamka, they are so vital to make our city sustain and survive. Last session, I know finding and conclusion. How tulaya pauna ka again chu aveli a chengte ni ka milak sakgo it is inwa but we really never talk about how to respond to that jega ha veli a chengte chu thing chang gam changi chai le lengan bangma ti lo deu chu they will survive for a century ei loi kha thing tang gam kha isuk chai le khoya chi ding kum khat lo wat lo ai le lengan anek di nei lo hi jega ha lo wata ilowa kha bu aphat nadinga chu thingapowa thingna ke ka hi le kha hong fertile hin ten jega chu je khai hin na hi jega kha jega chu village chief le ai adang te khan lengan how do we protect the forest so that they can continue to fertilize our land ti khalengan again ngai chu yes forest department te ka support thui lowa Ama forest department and again ho e wadinga chil phai ti khale to some extent na kha e cooperate wa we should try to cooperate them they are talking something good for us ti hile he do de kasa yekin tu tanga ke mudana chu forest department they are dangerous people ega mailak sagoi ti dana ngai to wa not necessarily there could be some relation between the forest department and our interests. Tio hilagen hom la inti. Poimo kasak jekwa ekasu we are just having different sub themes. IT ka clarify de. Sorry, thank you.
Let me pose a few questions. Can I pose 2 questions? Okay. I'm Paukan Kwaltan Singh. I'm serving as an assistant professor in Rayburn College. So here are a few of my questions, but I'll trim it down to 2. The first is Dr. Lalzago Nasil. You have talked about how we need awareness to have a clean river. But I have another idea. I think that we have much awareness about cleanliness. But the problem is how to manage our waste. Let me give you an example, Aizawl and Shillong. The municipality area of Aizawl and Shillong is quite clean. I'm quite satisfied. But the drainage system is quite dirty. Every time there is a rain, there is clogging and all sorts of problems crops up in both these cities, for example. So is it not a failure on the management, not the lack of awareness on the people about cleanliness? Let me just throw one more example. Sweden, they come up with a very innovative idea of how to generate energy from garbage, and they run out of garbage, so much so that they need more garbage, and they are importing garbage from nearby countries like Finland, because there are some bacteria which can eat and convert that energy into electrical energy. But that's not possible as of now for us, but I'm just throwing some light. Can we have rather an innovative idea in waste management? So my question again is it not the failure of management rather than the lack of awareness? My question to Dr. S. Thangboizo is, it's very interesting that you have mentioned that 75% of your respondents don't even have the idea to start afforestation. Also that you have mentioned that, very interesting again, priority to livelihood. Why not? Livelihood or the life of human being or human rights comes first every time. And according to you, not according to any journal or any book, but according to you, what is the best solution of afforestation that can go hand in hand with economic development? Because if afforestation means loss of livelihood, if afforestation means lack of economic development, then afforestation will never succeed. Here also, I think we need innovative idea. What is the best solution of afforestation that can go hand in hand with economic development? Let me just quickly throw some light here. Our people are like hand to mouth. We cannot wait so many times. Incidentally, this morning it's very interesting that in the Shanghai Express, the Honorable MLA El Casio mentioned that in the proposed ADC bill, there is horticulture in the hilly areas to replace, shifting cultivation. That has been there since my childhood. But horticulture always fails because our people cannot wait. When we plant poppy, it's just about 1 calendar year to get the benefit. So that is something that they can wait. So I'm not against horticulture. There will be many ideas here. It is debatable, but let me not just go into detail anymore. So there is always a problem living in a hand-to-mouth situation. What, according to you, is the best solution of afforestation that can go hand in hand with economic development without hampering the livelihood of the forest dwellers. Thank you very much.
I have proposed that the idea, the benefits of knowing the pollution effects to our human being, if this is again and again put to the villagers, if awareness is not given again and again, this continuous dumping of garbage will continue and will be more worse in the years to come. At the same time, treatment of the wastes cannot be done by individual household. I mean, when the dumping is very huge and it is in terms of tons, the small polythene bags or plastic bottles, all these things are coming from individuals. So if the individuals are actually aware that they will not throw simply every here and there, so they may burn it, or they may, of course, burning is not good, scientists have said, because it produces carbon. But what to do? Just to clean the areas, the surrounding of their homestead, they can do cleaning, maybe by burning also. So that's why I am telling that individuals, household also has to be imparted this awareness again and again. As Christian preaching is also done every now and then in every church, just like that, awareness should also be done local wise, sub-local wise, every time. That is what my purpose. Sir Kual has asked that instead of this awareness, it is the failure of management. Of course, it is true. Management will go side by side, and the awareness also will not be stopped, will continue. That is what my proposal. I think the second one I have forgotten. Okay. Thank you.
I want to make one small request. New Delhi, 1972-71, Tivela, Kaumla, Hasata Samay, Adam, so we Samarla, we Piang, look it in, so Dizata Pata, Hotel Hongle. Ipuna hola 10 vengai tun khan khub loik uta kana thoku ale Sanjay Gandhi khan thunei taka MP chang singa che thing puding MLA chang ja su puding aphu tai ri phut lo su atile thingong phu che tule to adele aunte khun you will not experience lu kiti kha hui sa su pilnel to kitu ingong well dimyeng office ka to na kisil te nga lechu athing phu je ko to we are spending almost 6 hours now, and Churchandpur Lamka town is almost green now. No, to a green tak nande asu. We let us make a request to the district forest officer and our MLA to strongly introduce this, that every chief of the village of the surrounding area must plant 5,000 or 500 or any number. They must plant their order kisu henla without our knowledge, it will be green. They should request ki bol henla, even request bol de mangkate authority te request sak de himo. Kote akat tingi ipulo le. We may spend time, but Susanpur will not be green. Tua ting puding ka village ship changin tinga pula sanction le mu loading o khuti khati bangam khat tamen condition khau de khat kini hen la le kyung phu che hen la le I think we'll have a green town akhuti lo le to eulim le ma wa su green zone lo re su to Zeka su VL te hin inget diwe demo ailo DC ailo le bill to MLA mo te ko ma hi gena think pu house ten think a pu lo le sanction mu the lo ding ti dan le wa I bol lo le ki thunu nak sama ma to abang atunga ha dim tap thu pe so civic sense kita sama man lai mo ngai chu ki ngai a phal ki si meeting a se le abula pata option de ha to asu to mai de kho mo ko te ha we me de te ho so ki mai ta su to he le sin le mai alu the lo seng so ki su ta mo meeting che le ahuna tunning option ning te kha sense kini ngai lo wes Susanpur green ding it le thi phul lo bang tin green de mo ne ka su bangtia bowling how to go that to I ngai to na sang tak tak neva let us by force ask the people to plant tree more then in 5 years Susanpur will be green. Thank you.
Cái thằng liên mang cái á tôi nói CBI cái xem là Delhi ông cái VL member khát cái hay kí pa huaya thu hay tak resource person tia kí pa nina man patak tak ngay kia tua kama eu tu jata khoi na chi bangina green city green hill building ina forest te poimo na hi ama sape na hiya ama ulowina I green zau ke di chi the lamka ina tak sap thum hon genun chitale ka gen ding chu we lack nothing except 3 khana civic sense nina integrity thumna god fearing hiai teng lamkain tasami adang tak sap ni lo hi chi ka hi khang lo ma street teng in teng building thu pi ta komta hileleng civic sense ita samma ma maiwa wai civic sense hi awareness nak ta kai bol kele I hope hi the best place in the world phelle hilawa best place in northeast tanina tumle hang wer ituma akipa waya hileleng itup nau kha sang lua ken yam zekina northeast a best place digina ngai toina civic sense kha nak ta kai nei ding kha I palaleng ka chia wana lui khong stream khong a garbage dumping ball lo ding chi kha igena hilele artinti people kele bai lam ta ka pai kha bai lam hi wai ding ina garbage system disposal system inei the na ina tuina ADC na bangza hiam garia nei chi the ya wai hi kar khata khat ve khong ai lel chu angai nam loi ni teng ai lo to pina kar khata thum ve street tenga paya wai inin te kha นักก่อยเฮียกะเอาไปเจียงอ่ะอินินเตก่อยเสียเทนดิ่งค่ะเวียลเฮียไอเกลบังฟอรัมเจีเฮียไว้น่ะเอียดเกลอินินเตฮีสตรีมของอันไหนน่ะกิไปขดิ่งมาฮีจีฮีตัวนี้นะเทเลงด้วยก็สร้างอัลเทอร์เนทีฟไข่บอลดิ่งไว้ดีนะเวียลินะปานิลาเฮียมินิสปัลเจียมตัวเอดีซีเตตัวปังโคมินะadministration to pangkhomina gari to ma hileleng gari be lap saka bangchi banga minister tung to na hiam bangyam hiya I kele I khosong hi best place hi thei lo ri hi chi hi kanamu dan hiya he wana stream to ki saya protection to ki sai hi forest adi hiya I kele administration adiam ka thei ke ya stream yai lan valui bang inadim dek simai chu tu yang pai chianga inwai hon tui luang ta huchi hile a demarcation embankment hoi ta ka bolding kwa hia embankment ni bol kele chu mina encroach mai doi chu hoi je ka tu yam lo chianga gamma bang hile tu yam chianga sau pi hon belap wai mani na tu pe ni protect ni ni na administration to kis vial te bang pang khom theleng wai hoi diam chi ka ngai da na ngoma wana tom na pe na deforestation to ki saya I protect theina sun chu gam house a khutang mai chi theya hia again na hilele house a khat leong tel lo hia a house a te sam khoma house te to discussion bola to adena heu tu pon chi ma banga sing no atam thei pen suan ding chi hi emphasize amount to pang khoma government akipana bangyam del pi dingom leleng vial level idala I kelehi tonina athuai ge na khabe mai lo ding ai manina wai khup ya aidena ikikup khom lai na ye khota a house te hi poi mo hi da hi mang hil keleng la amau kianga wanga educate thidan kha lampiom hiya individual in samia kele group in samia mi pia public khongai hi khom sang ma bangin leng house teng sam khomina holim khomina alternative bangama che he tunin eleng effective dina kaging ta hi hochi kela house ten hi amawa dinga phatum tuam ding thil kha hi bai wei chu hoja poppy cultivation chi bang leng it is illegal very much illegal ahia hileleng amawa de phatum dinga bangza hiam aritan dinga mu nang nu kha hiai manuna hiai hi nak pia I house te kha I educate poi mo hi chi hi atha kina kon ge nei ta ki pa ke
kelle ka ge no pen chu hiai non som tha u thu pi salua ka hi tu ban le hi azo nai kel la poi mo na sak te non hi lew chin chi de wai ka sa hi chi bang lom I pan khom veng na diu I khan to na diu hi chi dan hong green ta tak de hi chi bang kha ta lung sima oma wai ja kena green lam man hoi ja kena thu pi ka sa wai gelo the lo ka ki ngai ja kena ki pa tho hon gen ka hi ka ki pa ke
I'm Siam Nunlian Valte. I want to be obedient as Pochin Sum requested me to take time before even the program begins. So I'm being obedient, I hope so. Epan konsun somai dinga forestation le greenery to kisai kha keleng kumsom khong paisa pana kana all mo le ke on level kana try sa le house sa bangza hiam kana convince soma ka convince lo hen khat auma wai le tu ne discussion apana ka tho chong piang forest department te and bangchia panlau yam chi chut ka thei ki na himale apoimo ka sakahi le whenever a forest department speaks, they will speak about forests. They have no care about the economic aspect, its impact, whatever on the community where the project is to be implemented. Likewise, PhD na ko hitale, PWD tale, on department, line department na ki focus in integrated planning kia. We have come across, I think it was just 1 or 2 days back, an article about the economic impact and economic loss due to overemphasis on organic plantation in Sri Lanka. So it should always be human first rather than plants, trees, and animals. This is always my standpoint. And I believe this is where God puts us. We are more important than animals and plants. Number one. So every policy should always be for the well-being of human beings. When we say well-being, it doesn't only leads to breathing a clean air, but also about bread and butter. Tunya environment igiena tiltampi igiena ahizya kina gilkial ami omle I policy penlo samdi. Waizia ka kenzu ki line ka ki subject dena forest te kagien bangina kele economics ka line hizakin economy ka number 1 higi ke priority. Why dungzu economy based on gendi kai. Forests actually zooming do not destroy forests. It's a myth achi ka ahina omahi because it regenerates. But it affects the environment in other way around because of the burning, the smoke emission. Why ha a concern why mama kasa a context. Number 2, we also spoke about the difficulty of our farmers, our villagers, to wait and reap the benefits of horticulture plantations. I have been experiencing plantation, agriculture, many things. I have experienced many things from planting cabbage to dairy farming. So what I experienced from there is that it is really difficult to wait for 2-3 years. But I think there can be a solution if a horticulture department, the forest department, and the village community through the leadership of the chief work together. Hausa khat kyanga suggestion khat kana piak ahi le zooming kha alternative ding inei ki wai jaka zooming ki hi ma hi bang jaka alternative ni lo hi chi le alternative employment pianai chu inei lo pian kha or alternative source of income wai jaka ka suggestion chu kumnon chianga hei zauteng hei gam kha low ball di hi chi house atena plan kholu ahi mo why a plan khol namun diwa I think the forest department and horticulture department can come and prepare a nursery for next year kum non chianga plantation hong om na di mu na nursery na ki bol khin nge nge le why mu na low abol kumwa ahal khit chiangwa kha an asing no diu kha swan ngal diu ai chu abu leu to en khom diu chin kum kha chu free on kep sak diu chin ai chu why zaka kum khat hoi taka singno aki kepal gama ki hal kele survive di. I think the forest department or the horticulture department can collaborate with the village authority or the chiefs by giving some incentives to monitor another 2 years or at least another 1 year. At Sangnadan in Gianleng, tu kuma ahuan bol now, abu label now waka kum khat sung wai sing no ka hon kiem du hita. Akum no na ka low tul hidi in chin, low tuli chika just clearing the grass. Nagi kilo. Why zaka forest department teba ne sanade incentive kata low ching khat sunga a incentive tanina per family why ching khat amau low bol chian ma aki maintain diu china sanga nga bang incentive pia hitale. Huchi le kumni hoitaka ake pule chu sing chu bit te in survival le I think it will be at least 70-80%. Why how satikya kana suggest ka hon netsia lo hiya on manban lo hiya kale ka thei kia kwa manon zui khol kiwa wa kha tunia I forest department a officer te heu tunu rowi bang omahia policy making a he kha practical dinga kamu ai zia ka hon gian aya why chiang bang sing swan li chi pen kha apoimo non point number 2 ahia why kha I horticulture kon gian agroforestry dan again ina we say that our jobbing cycle is around 10 years more. In some villages it may be even less, but due to the ethnic conflict in 97-98 I think we are blessed to have more availability of land because urbanization is faster after the 97-98 ethnic conflict. Why is there population, village population kang thin out in chin to ka zooming cycle ka kibel up no na ichu huchi hi ile hi policy ka government as a policy na nei the hen la huchi hi tale tua kumsom cycle ahom namuna kumsom project dan in pahela kumnga cycle om na kumnga minimum kumnga hi him hi tale why I plantation ball pen ka fruit bearing trees ahidi and the fruit bearing tree should be a fruit which is found locally and already suits the land and the environment. Huchi hital after 5 years example after 5 years fruit bearing tree kumnga sunga aga lo mandi nge chibang mo target hitaleng ijuminga evaluate kik non sanga wise I plantation ball pen a fruit pen harvest a why maintain in a economy sustain na the alternative hong piang thilo di hiam chi kha ahia why chiang ina athum na hiai economic sustainability bana to a zooming ihi na I wild trees te kha timber a hoi polom in chin why chiang local pausang le check singa de hoi polom in chin so we are tempted to fell it mo apuk ding a temptation sang in chin fruit bearing trees ile chu aga ide izia ka why temptation leong tom so de himim de hi chi kha practical taka ke anamu dan ahia hileleng I think till teng again at the end we always end up with there must be a political will. It's here. A conclusion omseka. Why is yakena practical di hiam chi pen et na to a conservation pen kha on a study pi leo forest department tena wana vision lamka te bang leng bozui to ki sakle idea council ki pake
ei pawa heu tu ten pawa le azang khai huai ka sa ken le kon sung zom dia ki pawai ma comments te in suggestion te hi le I tua pu siam nun lian gen belap nai na I ken le tamlo minute thum kon belap uta khat na hi le jum pen hi I ha gen ma mawa e laka dia le I relevant ma hi komin narkom ten na FAO to sponsor dina dima hasawa jum cultivation hi te laka research ana bolwa what they found was that somebody who has abandoned jum and moved to a commercial cash crop plantation in 5 years earns more money but was spending more money on family health on boita because while you were doing jum you get a lot of vegetables fruits here and there seasonal plants which were enriching your diet the nutrition ka hoy you might not realize it but your diet was very healthy and balanced now when you abandon jum and move to let's say large scale king chili plantation you're fetching good money but then you started buying rice from the plains aloo and dal your diet was no longer balanced and that research shows that in 5 years the farmers who abandoned jum for commercial cash crop they were spending all the profit they were supposed to make on medicines so I think that the perspective has to be along slightly alternative lines if we're really to sensitize our villagers and also our farmers and the community. And we also talked about agroforestry and forest lama pi rowe omlaile here. For example, the most recent initiatives, and this is I'm just adding on to Pu Siamnun Lian's comment, is as we all know, things don't come on time. Tukuma agroforestry project bangkha saplings teng tung haksim. And then on practical terms, we are talking about per hectare 25,000 rupees. Alung lut su vaang maamau to take up the project. In fact, I also help some chiefs trying to convince them, please take this up project. Don't look for any financial incentive. But Forest Department and this is a national policy, so Manipurina just cannot add some money there. 25,000 rupees per hectare, 1 hectare to do plantation, it has to be community driven. If you're looking for financial incentive or some nitha and all that, it will not happen. Out of that 25,000 rupees per hectare, you end up on the refreshment and you have to take care of your own transportation costs from Tuibong. So from Tuibong, if you have to take it to Singat or Behiang, the truck itself will cost you 15,000. So banga hakahaksahi mo to do work on the ground. But but this is precisely where the community can come in. Where, for example, in Nagaland, they've started this movement called Trees for Wealth. To pusiamnun liangen danse dakha fruit-bearing trees. By 2030, they're planning to plant 1 million trees. They've already, planted 2 lakh fruit trees, and so that it's becoming a movement, not a department-driven. So all the ZYA, YPA, HY, all this have to be involved, and they have to be active stakeholders. Again, on Jum, I mean, Niti Aayog has come up with a report. It's freely available on the internet. They've come up with a report on shifting cultivation in Northeast. And I think that has received a lot of attention the last 3-4 years, and that's something that we can definitely explore. Just to come to the second part of our topic, which is we focus a lot on waste. And I just like to highlight the Mizoram example. We go to Aizawl, we go to Lunglei, and they're fairly clean, they're very clean. The civic sense is amazing. That's because, in some sense, they have link to have a civic sense is to be a proud Mizo. Can we do something like that in Lamka? Yes. Lamka, Aizawl, traffic line na vabo siatle. They just stare at you and say, Mizo nilaw mi. As though to break the law is to be known Mizo. So if you throw garbage or if you pollute your neighborhood, how can we tie that like if somebody comes and do it here, we say, oh, Lamka mi hilau deve. You know, we need to reach that level of social consciousness and community acceptance. And if we link it with that identity, because that identity, I'm paite, zomi, kuki, chi unnon lawa. To be Lamka is to be honest, to be clean, to have a good civic sense. Can that be the identity of Lamka? So I think, and that will also be a great unifying force. And wherever we go, we can be proud. We can be really proud of that. So with those two comments, I think we're almost time. If Dr. Thangboy would like to answer the one question that was posed to him regarding the alternatives, we'll just give him some time. And if there's any more comments, we'll wait for it. And otherwise, we can close this session. Yeah, you good? Okay, yeah, thank you. So on that note, I think we've had a very engaging session, right from the very global level, what's happening in climate change and the rising sea levels to the Khuga Valley and also to the forest issues in and around our town. I think it was fairly exhaustive, and there's a lot of food for thought, a lot of I think pathways for some pilots and projects. Some of them I think can come under Campa funds or small projects here and there. So before we conclude, I'd like to invite Frankie Pigante to come and deliver the vote of thanks. And then we'll have a photo session, and that will be the end of our program. Thank you.
Vote of thanks. Getting a film my good engagement dang a mo compete bang ne second chu hong so ti dan deu unao ni in le khat sai asimwa le khale mo kait simwa le hung si aupan boy vachin la anmal valan achal na dinga ti le anau pani na che ha anmal hol le mujo to lo an hing an nei lo heu anmal po mal same kong choi ma yo te mal same asu le khaleng si sai tuang khat di da ne ke le to amal same dan deu kha mal same chun sal zo lo de vote of thanks ki pa thu chu hong gen mat zo lo ting kai je ken ki su la le thoba hele le mal se me hong pang khatin ama sa penen je hall phal taka ap2 Rayburn college principal pa je sa uchule hilowa avalan trading le ncc te ko kom taka atun widing ha ang gongal te Zemai mai sule lawa officer lien tak te associate professor gin pi madam doctor gin ne ching doctors siam khan thang naisel doctor lan thiang mung waljong etele takai amau tha bat sak reng mo ya chu abuya pangati si kasu successful ma to ya don atom ngai che to ma taka atop sana sute comment amasan kipa na tak kawak gena sule hung tungwa dana kawak geno civic sense in ailo jek danu khagen dan kha ahung mong khala lo pia mo chil na mol tak anangai poimo ahungwa takahi ahung ba ankong lan na pau something le anaki gol le su chuchel sul na la event you mo next time sir ankong lan ding ke nei lo wai le ya su only 17% so Q mai to ai. The rest has gone. Jekasu kakipa na ma su resource person te dedicate taka ha pia walking ball zo nunga a diagram to bang to ta kha ita ei educate dan kha ngai tu le I wango phama ma jection resource person tel associate khat pa kol pa loi khamo kipa thowai su ahungwa le lia su ding lai hung tun wa je ka su kipa thu ge na ding ha ka kipa na ma ka lung thim tak ka kipa na su we are very blessed because of having this lady IFS who is articulate, knowledgeable, and presented things that could last. Kang song ma mai so to gol hit Surasan pur nume ne ilamu ka her lowes. Amele hoi na lai mo. Apa sal ko ede mo hawang phataka su. Gui te ha mo. Sule kakipa na ma suje a success na dinga hi I ho to tell el ala kai te akipek dan hoi ka ngai tu la thupi ma ya sule a material ding ho cheng kha ye poding ha su de lia pata hung leng veng le na lai is secretary pau bang he la ma khu aboi pi di tamatam sapsu mu pa le he la lai mo ne su hung veng a je ding mong a hung ai su asum sen ho la tamatam ding mo le na khu bai lam to lo wa ya yeksun ama chung le special thanks wagena sule Chairman Pau le taka kayu akai javeng te mo Susan pu akai javeng te cheng sung le ki pa thu wa gena sule ta ye nek le sak in SMP ka vice chairman a fela medical lam cheng sing at kolba na lam leng en kolpa ya thang ni khan retire pai de ti le ka vision lam ka ten na pan sot thei de uno de ki ball thei lo hoi de khati wa ka ki ngai tu lai ta ko ha ka extend thei du mo yesu henten yesu ki pa thu igen so ta le ki pa lo ki bang se ka mo ka lung thim tak ta ka ki pa ka ya an mal khan gen wang hen la le de ta de ding mo mal se me a chu le kha ki sal mo ka ya yesu ki sal thelo de je ken khok ka sa jula tun e to mai taka na chut tun wa chule conductor ti dem tangwal pau hi tangwal pa wak ting ke ji le nei mai the ta kuang wang phalem se po a felma ma sap pa so le sap te bang jing mo pai te pa so le pai te bang me chu le highly knowledgeable person mo athit he dan ho hele without say he is educated mo direction to goal bang he ahang ke volunteer roi ngai tu le Vision Lamka is really lucky to have important people such as you. Direction Dunia is seminar one of the most successful seminar I have attended ever in Surasanpur. Thank you.
To supplement what Pu Frankie Gangte had pronounced just now, Hong Pian Thai na ding in State Forest Development Agency, ahon gen ka Wana Rayburn College, to Vision Lamka hi collaboration a hi komina State Forest Agency ten again hiang nai lo sponsorship envelope kha den chom dia chi zia kun to pa mini phata hi. And secondly, Vision Lamka Arden well-wisher supporter Neng Kho Hoi Tombing from Gangpi Mual Koin Le Yai Green Seminar Ding ina Kila Hong Pang Man Lo Kai Changa 10,000 kon contribute dia chia asumahon peta ku beng ni Neng Kho Hoi Tombing Gangpi Mual Koi Patahi Tang Wal Fel Golan Suan Zamung Naulak Senior Citizen Member in again Amading a gift frame certificate to envelope khata oma pu Frankie pi gang tenon piak khyak sak dia hoi hot chiana ke kong din sana zo ka hidi ki pa ke galan
Ji hoi tak na de le no Vision Lamka te Ji hoi tak na de le Vision Lamka te kom e hol secretary la sa hoya hoi. Thank you for your contribution.
Pu Frankie khana omlahen lan stage I resource person ala sapin Dr. Lalza Go Neisial to Dr. S Thangboy kha happy na to stage ang paito sa Quenlan Vision Lamka pat a small token of appreciation on sang sakleu chi pu Frankin pyakhyak naon nei le chi
Come here. God bless you. You have contributed very greatly. Thank you. Tang wale, kan kalau teka saktim le, ini film mai. Thank you.
Thank you. Atop na dina I tua I pu secretary ina again dan bangina State Forest Development Agency apat panpi na ahom din chi pen kha I Forest Department ngai na bangin tua bangza hiam lak thei di om chi thu ki za a I hai hon pya khyak sak dina I pi roi kulai kasama on san sak ding ina pu chairman Puen Neisial Vision Lamka paitole
Kipake golan Vision Lamka yai one day seminar adia ko office SFDA na half a lakh kana sanction wazanin nitag nungina PCCF in Swaihon kaya a sanction order a nailo ziakin full amount kon pethei kewa half of the half lakh kon pediu 25,000 kon hand over di Vision Lamka dam sothen
Thank you. That will be the end of our program. Before we disperse, may I request all those who are present here to line up here for a brief photo session as in the program schedule. Yeah.